My name is Jessica, and I'm standing on the lawn of what used to be my home, staring at 6 garbage bags filled with my entire life. The Arizona sun is beating down on Saguaro Boulevard, turning the asphalt into waves of heat, and my husband Ryan is on the porch next to his mother, Margaret, both of them watching me like I'm trash they finally managed to throw out. Margaret's holding a coffee mug. That detail will stick with me forever. She's sipping coffee from my favorite mug, the one I bought at that little shop in Sedona during our first anniversary trip, and she's smiling. Actually smiling. Take the money and go quietly, Ryan says, holding out an envelope. His voice is flat, emotionless, like he's reading from a script his mother wrote for him. Because that's exactly what's happening. This wasn't the first time Margaret tried to erase me from Ryan's life. It was just the first time she succeeded. Or at least, the first time she thought she succeeded. Before I tell you how I made them both pay for every cruel word, every humiliating dinner, every time they made me feel like I was nothing, let me know where you're watching from in the comments. Hit that subscribe button because what happens next proves that the quiet wife they underestimated was actually the most dangerous person in the room. They just didn't know it yet. 3 years. That's how long I'd been married to Ryan Turner. 3 years of Tuesday night dinners where Margaret inspected my cooking like a health inspector looking for violations. 3 years of her showing up unannounced, rearranging my furniture, commenting on my weight, asking when I'd finally give her grandchildren like my only purpose was to be her son's baby factory. 3 years of watching Ryan sit there in silence while his mother shredded me piece by piece. Our ranch-style home sat in suburban Phoenix, 15 minutes from Margaret's house, which might as well have been 15 feet based on how often she appeared in my kitchen without knocking. The neighborhood was the kind where everyone knew everyone's business, where the Pattersons next door had their Ring camera pointed directly at our front door, where gossip spread faster than the summer wildfires in the mountains, and now they were all watching. Mrs. Patterson was definitely recording this on her phone. The Johnsons across the street had stopped watering their lawn to stare. My humiliation was becoming their entertainment. What they didn't know, what nobody knew, was that while Margaret and Ryan were planning my exit, I was planning something much bigger. While they were figuring out how to kick me out of a house Ryan claimed to own, I was closing a deal that would change everything. My hands were shaking as I loaded the first garbage bag into my Honda Civic. Not from fear. From rage. The kind of rage that doesn't explode. The kind that calculates, plans, and waits for the perfect moment to strike. That moment was coming. Sooner than they could possibly know. 5 years ago, I was a dental hygienist at Desert Smile Dental on Camelback Road, living in a modest apartment in Tempe, perfectly content with my simple life. I met Ryan Turner at my friend Brooklyn's 4th of July barbecue. He was charming, funny, and when I mentioned I worked in healthcare, he actually asked intelligent questions instead of making jokes about teeth. Ryan was an insurance adjuster at State Farm, the kind of guy who wore pressed shirts to casual gatherings and knew exactly how much coverage everyone needed for everything. He seemed stable. Responsible. Different from the typical Phoenix guys who still lived with their mothers at 32 and called it helping out with the mortgage. Our first 2 dates were perfect. Dinner at Postino, hiking Camelback Mountain at sunrise, conversations that lasted until the restaurants kicked us out. Then came date 3. We were at Durant's, this old-school steakhouse downtown, when Margaret appeared at our table. I remember thinking someone's lost grandmother was confused about her reservation. Then Ryan stood up and said, "Mom, what are you doing here?" I was in the neighborhood, Margaret lied smoothly, her eyes scanning me like a home inspection she was determined to fail. Thought I'd say hello to this new girl you've been hiding. She sat down. Ordered the most expensive wine. Spent 90 minutes asking questions that sounded polite but landed like accusations. Dental hygienist? That's lovely. So you didn't want to be an actual dentist, and apartment in Tempe? I suppose not everyone can afford Scottsdale. Ryan said nothing. Just smiled nervously and changed the subject whenever I tried to establish boundaries. Margaret Turner had been a widow for 12 years when I met her. Her husband died of a heart attack, leaving her with a paid-off house, a successful real estate career, and an unhealthy attachment to her only son. She controlled Ryan through guilt, through stories about how hard she'd worked after his father died, through constant reminders that he was all she had left. Our wedding should have been my first warning. Margaret wore white. An actual white dress to her son's wedding. She sat in the front row next to Ryan's aunt, glaring at me through the entire ceremony. During the reception, she gave a toast about the one who got away, some girl named Heather who Ryan dated in college, who Margaret still believed was her son's soulmate. Ryan laughed it off. That's just mom being mom. When we house hunted, Ryan insisted on staying close to Margaret. 15 minutes away, he promised. We ended up 8 minutes door to door on Saguaro Boulevard. Close enough for surprise visits. Close enough for her to monitor my every move. 3 months before everything exploded, a typical Tuesday night looked like this. 5:30 p.m., Margaret's white Lexus pulled into our driveway. She had a key, naturally, but she'd ring the doorbell first like she was doing me a favor by announcing herself. 6 p.m., we'd sit down for dinner. I'd spent 2 hours making pot roast, roasted vegetables, homemade rolls. Margaret would take one bite and say, "Interesting choice with the seasoning. Most people use thyme, not rosemary. But I suppose you have your own way of doing things." 6:15, she'd excuse herself to use the bathroom, then I'd hear her in the hallway opening closets. Checking if I'd dusted the top shelves. Running her finger along the baseboards. Once, I caught her examining our bedroom, and when I asked what she was doing, she said, "Just making sure you're keeping a proper home for my son." 6:30, the grandchildren conversation would start. Like clockwork. 3 years of marriage, Jessica. Most women your age already have at least one baby. Are you having problems? They have doctors for that, you know. Though I read that women who wait too long often have complications. We're not ready yet, I'd say, the same response I'd given for 3 years. Not ready? Margaret would laugh that sharp, cruel laugh. Or is it that you're too focused on your career? Cleaning teeth is hardly worth sacrificing your ability to give Ryan a family. Ryan would sit there, fork halfway to his mouth, eyes on his plate. Silent. Later, in bed, he'd apologize. "I know Mom can be intense. I'll talk to her." He never did. My coping mechanism was learning. Online courses in coding, web development, anything that felt like building something Margaret couldn't touch. I'd work on my laptop after dinner, headphones in, creating a world where her voice couldn't reach me. One Tuesday, Margaret came early. Found my laptop open to a JavaScript tutorial on the kitchen counter. Playing computer games? She smirked. "Ryan, did you know Jessica's wasting time on this instead of cleaning the house?" Ryan walked over, looked at my screen, closed my laptop. "Babe, maybe Mom's right. You should focus on us, not these distractions." That night, I started working on my project in secret. Midnight to 3 a.m. after Ryan fell asleep. If they wanted to dismiss me, fine. I'd built something they couldn't ignore. 2 years before that Friday eviction, I was cleaning the teeth of Dr. Nadine Wilson, a family practice physician who ran a clinic in Central Phoenix. She was frustrated, venting between rinses about her scheduling nightmare. "The software crashes twice a week," Dr. Wilson said. "Costs me thousands in missed appointments. Patients show up and insurance isn't verified. It's a disaster, but switching systems costs even more." I'd heard variations of this complaint from dozens of healthcare providers in my chair. Doctors, dentists, specialists, all struggling with the same terrible scheduling tools. That night, I couldn't sleep. My brain kept circling the problem. Healthcare providers needed better software. Something that integrated scheduling with insurance verification automatically. Something that actually worked. I started researching. Teaching myself to code through free online courses. Building a basic prototype on weekends while Ryan played golf with his State Farm buddies. MedSync Pro started as a fantasy. A what-if project I never expected to finish. But I did finish it. Found my first beta client through Dr. Wilson, who agreed to test it at her practice. Then 3 more clinics. Then 12. The providers loved it. Appointment confirmations sent automatically. Insurance verified before patients arrived. Reduced no-shows by 40%. Saved practices an average of $8,000 monthly. 14 months into development, TechCrunch ran an article about healthcare tech solutions. Mentioned MedSync Pro in passing. That mention caught the attention of Redwood Ventures, a Silicon Valley firm specializing in healthcare startups. They reached out on a Wednesday. Asked for a pitch meeting. Friday morning, I told Ryan I was going to a girls' brunch with Brooklyn. Instead, I sat in my car in a Starbucks parking lot, laptop balanced on my steering wheel, pitching my company via Zoom to 4 investors in expensive suits. They offered me $2.3 million. Series of funding. 30% equity. Terms I'd researched enough to know were legitimate and fair. I signed the term sheet on Tuesday. 3 days before Ryan and Margaret kicked me out, the money hadn't cleared yet. The paperwork was processing through lawyers and banks, the way these massive transactions always do. But it was done. Legal. Mine. While Margaret was planning which furniture she'd move into her house after I left, I was planning how to spend $2.3 million proving them both wrong. Ryan thought I was a failure. Margaret thought I was worthless. They had no idea who they'd just thrown away. Monday started with a notification on my phone. My Ring doorbell camera showing Margaret's white Lexus in my driveway at 10:45 a.m. I was at Desert Smile Dental, my hands in a patient's mouth, when I saw her walking through my front door with a woman I'd never met. I watched the live feed during my lunch break. Margaret giving the stranger a complete tour of my home. Pointing at my furniture. Opening my closets. Gesturing at walls like she was already planning renovations. That night, I confronted Ryan the second he walked through the door. Your mother brought an interior designer to our house today. Without asking me, Ryan set down his briefcase, loosened his tie. She's just trying to help us start fresh. The house needs updating. It's my house too, Ryan. She can't just, our house, he corrected. And Mom has good taste. You should be grateful she's offering to help. Grateful. That word again. Tuesday, Ryan texted me at work, dinner's moved to Wednesday. Mom has a showing.no discussion. Just a change in schedule I wasn't part of making. Wednesday, one of my afternoon patients canceled. I left work early, drove home at 3:30 instead of 6. Found 3 cars in my driveway. Margaret's Lexus. Ryan's Accord. A silver BMW I didn't recognize. I walked into my dining room and stopped cold. Margaret sat at the head of my table. Ryan next to her. A man in a gray suit across from them, legal documents spread across the wood like a corporate takeover. Jessica. Margaret's voice was ice. We weren't expecting you yet. What's going on? My purse slipped from my shoulder, hit the floor. The man in the suit stood, extended his hand. Richard Vaughn. I'm an attorney representing Ryan in a dissolution of marriage. Dissolution of marriage. The clinical term for divorce. We've been patient with you long enough, Jessica. Margaret's words were sharp, final. Ryan needs a real wife who can give him a family. This arrangement isn't working. I looked at Ryan. My husband. The man who'd promised to love me until death. Is this real? My voice cracked. You're ambushing me with divorce papers? Mrs. Turner. Vaughn slid a folder across the table. My client would like to make this easy. Sign these papers, take $50,000, and vacate the property by Friday. It's a generous offer considering what? I snapped. Considering I've done nothing wrong except fail to produce grandchildren on Margaret's timeline? I'd like to speak to my attorney first. Ryan stood up, face flushed. Don't make this harder than it needs to be. I'm done, Jess. I've been done for months. Just sign the papers and move on. Margaret leaned back in her chair, that familiar smirk playing on her lips. The house is in Ryan's name. Legally, you have no claim to it. Take the money and go quietly. It's the smart choice. I grabbed my purse from the floor. I'll have my attorney contact yours. Ryan called after me as I left. I didn't turn around. I drove to Brooklyn's office, hands shaking so badly I almost ran a red light on Camelback. My best friend took one look at my face and cleared her schedule. They ambushed me, I said, collapsing into the chair across from her desk. Divorce attorney. Papers ready. Margaret acting like I'm a tenant she's evicting. Brooklyn pulled out a legal pad. Tell me everything. Friday, I left work at 5:15. Drove home rehearsing the conversation I'd have with Ryan. Brooklyn had advised me to stay calm, document everything, don't sign anything without her review. I turned onto Saguaro Boulevard and saw it immediately. 6 black garbage bags on my front lawn. My stomach dropped. I pulled into the driveway behind Ryan's car, got out on legs that barely held me, the front door was closed. I tried my key, it didn't work. They'd changed the locks. I stood there, key in hand, staring at the door like I could will it to open. Through sheer disbelief, the door opened. Ryan stepped out onto the porch. Margaret appeared beside him, both holding matching coffee mugs. My favorite mugs. The set I'd bought at that pottery shop in Jerome. I want a divorce, Ryan said. No preamble. No emotion. Like he was reading from a script. Mom's moving in to help me through this transition. You need to leave now. Around us, the neighborhood was watching. Mrs. Patterson's curtain moved in the house next door. I saw the glint of her phone camera. The Johnsons had stopped getting their mail, standing at their mailbox, openly staring. I have legal rights to this property, Ryan. I tried to keep my voice steady. You can't just lock me out, Margaret laughed. Actually laughed. Sweetheart, this is my house. I paid the down payment. Ryan's name is on the deed. You're nobody here. You have no rights to anything. Ryan walked down the porch steps, pulled an envelope from his pocket. Here's $10,000 to get started. That's more than generous considering you contributed nothing to this household. $10,000. Like our 3 years of marriage could be bought off with a check. My hands started shaking. Then my whole body. Tears I'd been holding back for days finally broke through. Ryan, please. Load your stuff and go, Jessica. I loaded those garbage bags into my Honda Civic while my neighbors watched. While Margaret sipped coffee from my mug. While my husband stood there like I was a stranger he'd never loved, I drove away from Saguaro Boulevard at 5:47 p.m. headed to Brooklyn's apartment in Tempe. 30 minutes that felt like 30 hours. My marriage was over. My home was gone. My life was in garbage bags. Or so they thought. Brooklyn's apartment smelled like lavender and coffee. I sat on her couch surrounded by garbage bags, mascara running down my face, trying to process what had just happened. They can't legally do this. Brooklyn was already on her laptop, fingers flying across the keyboard. Changing locks without notice, withholding your belongings. This is a legal eviction even if his name is on the deed. Margaret said she paid the down payment. That Ryan owns it, let me pull the property records. Brooklyn's screen filled with documents. She scrolled, clicked, scrolled again. Then stopped. Jessica. Her voice changed. Ryan's name isn't on the deed. What? She turned the laptop toward me. Saguaro Boulevard property records. Owner, Margaret Louise Turner. Purchase date, April 2020. 4 years ago. 1 year before Ryan and I got married. He lied, I whispered. Ryan told me he bought that house. That his money went into the down payment. That it was our home. Brooklyn kept typing. If you've been paying what you thought was a mortgage, we need to see where that money actually went. I pulled out my phone, opened my banking app. Showed her the transfers. $1,800. Every month for 3 years. Paid directly to Ryan's account with the memo line mortgage. Brooklyn did the math on her calculator. $64,800. You gave Ryan nearly $65,000 for a house he never owned. Where did it go? Brooklyn's fingers were already moving across her keyboard, searching public records for Ryan Turner. Property purchases. Business filings. Court records. She found it. Oh my God. Brooklyn's face went pale. Jessica, Ryan bought a condo in Scottsdale 18 months ago. Paid cash. $340,000. She pulled up the address. Showed me the building. Luxury high-rise. Rooftop pool. Valet parking. That's where Tiffany lives. The realization hit me like a punch. His coworker. The one he always said was just a friend. Brooklyn searched Tiffany Morrison. Found her property records. Same building. Same month purchased. Unit 3 floors below Ryan's. Your mortgage payments, Brooklyn said slowly. They funded his affair. I couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. The man I'd trusted, loved, supported for 3 years had been stealing from me to buy a secret apartment where he slept with another woman. But Brooklyn wasn't done searching. There's something else. She pulled up Arizona Department of Real Estate records. Margaret's company is under investigation. Fraud charges. Falsifying documents, illegal kickbacks, forging signatures on closing paperwork. The investigation started 6 months ago. Right when Margaret became more aggressive. More determined to remove me from Ryan's life. She needed you gone, Brooklyn said. Before her fraud case goes public. Before anyone starts asking questions about money or property or who knew what. Brooklyn kept digging. Found one more thing. Margaret took out a home equity loan on the Saguaro house 3 months ago. $200,000. Where's the money? That's the question. She's hiding assets. Probably moving money before the fraud charges hit and the state comes after everything she owns. I sat there on Brooklyn's couch, surrounded by garbage bags containing my entire life, and realized something. They hadn't just betrayed me. They'd stolen from me. Lied to me. Used me, and they thought they'd gotten away with it. What do we do? I asked. Brooklyn smiled. The kind of smile that meant someone was about to regret underestimating her. We destroy them. Legally. Publicly. Completely. My phone buzzed. An email notification. From Redwood Ventures, your series of funding has been deposited. Welcome to the next phase of MedSync Pro. $2.3 million had just hit my business account. Ryan and Margaret had thrown away the wrong woman. Monday morning, 3 days after Ryan threw my life into garbage bags, I woke up in Brooklyn's guest room to an email notification. Series of funding deposited, $2,300,000. I stared at my phone screen. $2.3 million. In my business account. Real money. Mine. Brooklyn knocked on the door, already dressed in her lawyer power suit. You're awake. Good. We have work to do. She spread documents across her dining table like a general planning a war. Bank statements. Property records. Screenshots of Ryan's condo purchase. Margaret's fraud investigation details. We have fraud, embezzlement, and potentially theft by deception, Brooklyn said, her pen tapping against the legal pad. We can file a civil suit against Ryan for the $64,800 plus damages. Expose Margaret's real estate fraud. Use the property records to prove they lied about everything. I want more than money. The words surprised me as they came out. I want what they gave me. Public humiliation. I want everyone who watched them kick me out to see exactly who they really are. Brooklyn smiled. What did you have in mind? Margaret's annual charity gala is in 2 weeks, the Phoenix Women's Empowerment Gala. Margaret's biggest social event of the year. 200 Phoenix socialites paying $500 a plate to raise money for women's causes. The irony wasn't lost on me, considering Margaret had spent 3 years tearing down every woman who came near her son. I'm going to attend, I said. As a VIP donor. My new wealth makes that possible, and then? Then I'm going to expose everything. In front of everyone she's been trying to impress for the last decade. Brooklyn leaned back, considering. We could serve her with the fraud subpoena at the event. Make it public record in the most public way possible. By Tuesday afternoon, the plan was in motion. I contacted MedSync Pro's new PR team, hired with part of my funding. Arranged an interview with Arizona Business Magazine. The story would drop the day before the gala. Local dental hygienist turned tech entrepreneur secures $2.3 million funding. I reached out to the gala organizers as an anonymous donor. $50,000 bought me a VIP table, front and center, impossible to miss. I hired Clint Meyer, the most aggressive divorce attorney in Phoenix. The kind of lawyer who destroyed cases for sport. His retainer was $20,000. I paid it without blinking. Brooklyn and I spent the next week compiling evidence. Every bank transfer to Ryan. Every text message where he claimed to be working late. The doorbell camera footage of Margaret's interior designer tour. The property records proving Ryan never owned our house. Wednesday night, Brooklyn showed me the lawsuit draft. Jessica Turner versus Ryan Turner. Fraud, breach of fiduciary duty, conversion of funds. We're demanding the original $64,800 plus $200,000 in punitive damages and emotional distress. File it, I said. The same day the fraud charges hit Margaret? Exactly the same day. Brooklyn's fingers hovered over her keyboard. You're sure about this? Once we start, there's no going back. This will get ugly. I thought about standing on that lawn in front of Mrs. Patterson's camera phone. Thought about Margaret's smirk over my favorite coffee mug. Thought about 3 years of Tuesday dinners where I'd been treated like I was nothing, I'm sure. Brooklyn hit send. The wheels of justice started turning. Slowly at first. Then faster than Ryan and Margaret could possibly prepare for. Thursday morning, Arizona Business Magazine hit newsstands and went live online. The headline, Local Dental Hygienist Turned Tech Entrepreneur Secures $2.3 million funding. My photo took up half the page. Professional headshot I'd gotten taken 2 days earlier. Confident smile. Eyes that looked nothing like the broken woman from a week ago. The article detailed MedSync Pro's mission, my vision for healthcare technology, the series of funding from Redwood Ventures. It mentioned Desert Smile Dental, my 5 years as a hygienist, my journey from cleaning teeth to building software that solved real problems. Within 2 hours, my phone started ringing. Ryan. 17 missed calls. I let every single one go to voicemail. The messages started confused. Jess, I saw the article. Can we talk? Then angry, you're making me look like an idiot. Call me back, then desperate, please, Jess. I made a mistake. We can fix this. Margaret texted me for the first time in 3 years. We need to talk about your little publicity stunt. I deleted it without responding. Social media caught fire. The article got shared across Phoenix business groups. Former patients from Desert Smile Dental flooded the comments. She deserves everything. So proud, Jessica was always so smart. This doesn't surprise me at all, the kindest hygienist I ever had. Good for her. Margaret's social circle started asking questions. Her real estate friends commenting on Facebook, isn't that your son's wife? And I didn't know Jessica was in tech. Thursday afternoon, 3 days before the gala, Ryan showed up at Brooklyn's apartment. I was inside working on MedSync Pro updates when Brooklyn called from the door. Don't come out. Let me handle this. I watched from the window. Ryan on the sidewalk below, disheveled. Nothing like the composed insurance adjuster who'd handed me $10,000 to disappear. "Jess, please." He was shouting now, looking up at Brooklyn's window. "We need to talk. I made a mistake. Mom manipulated me. I wasn't thinking clearly." Part of me wanted to go down there. Wanted to hear him beg. Wanted to believe that somewhere under Margaret's influence was the man I'd married. Brooklyn appeared beside me at the window. "Don't." "He sounds sorry. He stole $65,000 from you while sleeping with another woman. Sorry doesn't cover that." I stepped back from the window. Friday morning, Clint Meyer filed the lawsuit. Ryan Turner served at his State Farm office at 9 a.m. Simultaneously, the Arizona Department of Real Estate issued formal charges against Margaret Turner. 8 counts of real estate fraud, forgery, and embezzlement. Phoenix's local news picked it up by noon. Prominent Phoenix realtor faces fraud charges. Margaret's face on every channel. Her real estate license suspended pending investigation. By Friday evening, Margaret's world was crumbling, and the gala was tomorrow night. Saturday evening, the Arizona Grand Resort glittered with Phoenix's wealthiest pretending to care about women's empowerment. I stood in front of Brooklyn's full-length mirror, barely recognizing myself. Black designer dress that cost $3,000. Professional makeup that made me look powerful instead of broken. Hair styled in waves that caught the light perfectly. "You look like you own the world," Brooklyn said, adjusting her own dress. "I'm about to act like it." The ballroom was stunning. Crystal chandeliers. Tables draped in white linens. Centerpieces that probably cost more than my old monthly rent. 200 socialites in evening wear, champagne glasses in hand, pretending this wasn't just an excuse to see and be seen. Brooklyn and I were seated at the VIP donor table. Front row. Impossible to miss. Several tech entrepreneurs I'd met through MedSync Pro networking sat with us, all congratulating me on the Arizona Business Magazine article. Across the room, Margaret held court at the head table. Red dress. Diamond necklace. That same confident smile I'd watched for 3 years. Ryan sat beside her. His +1. Like they were a couple instead of mother and son. Like this wasn't deeply disturbing. Ryan saw me first. His champagne glass stopped halfway to his mouth. Color drained from his face. He leaned over, whispered something to Margaret. Margaret turned. Her eyes found mine across the ballroom. I watched her expression cycle through stages. Confusion. Recognition. Rage. She stood up. Walked directly toward my table. Her heels clicking against the marble floor loud enough to draw attention. "What are you doing here?" Margaret's voice carried. Several nearby tables went quiet. "You weren't invited." I stood slowly. Met her eyes without flinching. "I'm a VIP donor. Check your guest list. You have some nerve showing your face after abandoning my son." The room was quieter now. Phones coming out. Phoenix socialites sensing drama worth recording. I projected my voice. Made sure every table within 30 feet could hear me clearly. "Abandoning? You mean after I was illegally evicted from a house you claimed Ryan owned?" Margaret's face flushed. "That's not, after I paid $64,800 toward a mortgage on a property my husband never actually owned?" Gasps from nearby tables. Phones definitely recording now. After I discovered Ryan used that money to buy a secret condo where he's been living with his coworker Tiffany Morrison? The room went completely silent. Margaret was shaking. "You're lying." "Ryan would never." I pulled folded documents from my clutch. Handed them to the woman at the table next to ours. Arizona Public Property Records. Margaret's name on the Saguaro Boulevard deed. Ryan's name on a Scottsdale condo purchased 18 months ago. Bank transfers showing my payments to him every month. The documents passed from hand to hand. People reading. Whispering. Ryan appeared, trying to grab my arm. "Jess, please, not here." I turned on him. "Not here?" Like you didn't kick me out in front of the neighbors? Like you didn't have your mother humiliate me on my own lawn while Mrs. Patterson filmed it? Brooklyn stood up, walked directly to Margaret. Handed her a manila envelope. Margaret Turner, you've been served. This is a subpoena for your upcoming fraud trial with the Arizona Department of Real Estate. 8 counts including forgery and embezzlement. Margaret ripped open the envelope. Read the first page. Started screaming. This is a conspiracy. She's manipulating all of you. She's lying about everything. Security guards appeared. 2 large men in black suits moving toward Margaret as she tried to grab the documents from the nearby table. I looked at the crowd. At 200 of Phoenix's wealthiest watching this family implode in real time. Real empowerment, I said clearly, is women supporting women. Not tearing them down to control your son. Brooklyn and I walked toward the exit. Behind us, Margaret was still screaming as security escorted her out. Ryan stood frozen at his table. The room erupted in whispers, cameras flashing, the gala descending into complete chaos. We stepped outside into the cool Arizona night. Brooklyn looked at me. How do you feel? Free, I said. For the first time in 3 years, I feel completely free. Sunday morning, every Phoenix news outlet was running the same story. Charity founders served with fraud charges at own gala. The Arizona Republic's headline sat above photos of Margaret being escorted out by security. Someone had captured the exact moment her face twisted from rage to panic when Brooklyn handed her the subpoena. Video footage spread across social media. Margaret's meltdown played on loop. Phoenix residents sharing it, commenting, dissecting every second of her public destruction. By Monday, Margaret's real estate license was officially suspended pending criminal investigation. Tuesday, the Phoenix Women's Empowerment Charity Board held an emergency meeting and voted unanimously to remove her as founder. Wednesday, Ryan's attorney filed a response to my lawsuit. Claimed the $64,800 I'd paid him was for household expenses and shared living costs. Clint Meyer destroyed that argument in less than an hour. Presented evidence of Ryan's secret Scottsdale condo. Proved he'd been maintaining 2 residences. Showed bank records of my money depositing into Ryan's account, then transferring to his condo mortgage. Ryan wasn't paying household expenses. He was stealing. 3 weeks later, Ryan's attorney called with a settlement offer. $125,000. The original amount plus damages. Full payment within 90 days. Additionally, Ryan had to sign a notarized statement publicly acknowledging the fraud. Admitting he'd lied about owning our house. Confessing he'd used my money to fund his affair. Take it, Clint advised. You'll get your money faster than if we go to trial. I signed the settlement agreement. Margaret's criminal trial moved faster than expected. Her attorney advised her to plead guilty to avoid prison time. She took the deal. 4 counts of real estate fraud. 5 years probation. $85,000 in fines. Permanent loss of her real estate license. The house on Saguaro Boulevard had to be sold immediately. Margaret needed cash for legal fees, fines, and restitution to the clients she'd defrauded. The house went on the market at $425,000. Sold in 2 weeks for $325,000. $100,000 below market value because everyone in Phoenix knew the story. Knew about the fraud. Knew about the eviction. The new owners were a young couple with 2 kids. Mrs. Patterson told me they seemed nice. Normal, better than what that house had held before. 2 months after the gala, MedSync Pro launched publicly. The response was overwhelming. Medical practices across Arizona, California, Nevada signing up for the platform. Doctors tired of clunky scheduling software. Nurses exhausted by insurance verification nightmares. By the end of year 1, 847 medical practices were using MedSync Pro. Revenue hit $4.2 million. I hired 12 employees. Rented office space in downtown Phoenix with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Made Dr. Nadine Wilson my chief medical advisor, the woman whose complaint in my dental chair had started everything. I moved into a loft in Roosevelt Row. Modern. Minimalist. Nothing like the ranch-style house on Saguaro Boulevard. This space was mine. Every piece of furniture chosen by me. Every decision made without someone criticizing my choices. Therapy helped. Twice-a-week sessions with Dr. Patricia Chen, working through the betrayal, rebuilding my sense of worth, learning to trust again. 5 months after the gala, I attended a healthcare technology conference in San Diego. That's where I met Derek. He was a pediatrician from Tucson, complaining good-naturedly about his practice's old scheduling system during a networking session. I handed him my business card, try MedSync Pro. First month free. He laughed. You're Jessica? I read about you in Arizona Business Magazine. Your ex-husband's an idiot. We had coffee. Then dinner. Then a weekend in La Jolla where we talked about everything except my failed marriage. Derek was different. He celebrated my success instead of feeling threatened by it. Asked about my business with genuine interest. Had a healthy relationship with his own mother, who lived in Flagstaff and called once a week without trying to control his life. 6 months after the gala, I went to a Phoenix Suns game with Brooklyn. Fourth quarter, I saw him. Ryan. Sitting 3 rows behind us. Alone. He looked tired. Older. The confidence he'd worn like armor completely gone. At halftime, he approached. Jess. Can we talk? Brooklyn tensed beside me, but I nodded. I'm sorry, Ryan said. Really sorry. Mom manipulated me. I see that now. I was weak and stupid and I destroyed the best thing I ever had. He was living in a studio apartment in Glendale. Working 2 jobs to pay the settlement. Tiffany had left him the moment his money disappeared. I forgive you, I said. Not for you. For me. I needed to let go of the anger. Do you think we could ever? No? I cut him off gently. That person you married doesn't exist anymore. She's become someone so much stronger. 1 year after Ryan threw my life into garbage bags, I stood on a stage at Arizona State University's entrepreneurship program. 200 students filled the auditorium. Most of them young women who'd been told they weren't good enough, smart enough, ambitious enough. Sometimes the worst thing that happens to you is actually the beginning of your best life, I told them. They tried to make me small. Instead, I became limitless. After the speech, a young woman approached me. 22, business major, told me her family didn't believe she could build a company. Prove them wrong, I said. Not because you need their approval. Because you deserve to see what you're capable of. That night, I sat at my laptop in my loft, building MedSync Pro 2.0. Adding features. Improving the platform. Growing something real. My doorbell rang. Derek with Thai food and sunflowers. Ryan never brought me food when I was working late. Never supported my dreams. Never saw me as anything more than his mother's disappointment. Derek sat beside me, asked about my progress, celebrated my small victories. Margaret thought she was erasing me from Ryan's life. Instead, she freed me to build a life they could never comprehend. That wasn't revenge. That was justice. If you've ever been underestimated by someone who thought they could break you, drop a comment about how you proved them wrong. And if this story resonated with you, hit that like button and subscribe to Revenge with Jessica for more stories about rising from betrayal. Remember, your worth isn't determined by people who can't see it. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you in the next one.